Hello folks, this is Raj Sastry from Raj Option Trading. Today is March 28, 2021. We will talk about top shorted stocks. As you know, shorting stock means you're opening a position and borrowing the shares of a stock that you don't own. So the thought process is really you borrow the stock hoping the stock price will go down or lower, and then you return back the shares at a lower price. So you make money for with the difference. If you bought at 50, you return back at 40, you made $10 there. So that's the thought process. And borrowing also has a borrowing cost that you have to pay to the brokerage. And any dividends due, you have to pay back to the brokerage. So with that, let's look at a quick chart here. This is a chart of PubMatic, which is a online digital advertising play. As you can see here, we have a short interest rate here. There is a stock fell down drastically, and stock kind of again fell down. Now it's trying to make a comeback slowly. So typically I would look for RSI a little bit lower, and stock fell off and try to make a small comeback. That's a good time to catch some of these short squeeze scenarios, and hoping there is a short squeeze and stock will make its way up. So you don't want to buy the stock at a higher price. You want the stock to fall off, and you want to catch it at the next uptick. So something along those lines. There is no science around it. You got to be cautious. Look at multiple things, like how is the sales, how is the gross margin, is the company stable. You have to look at some of those aspects also. So with that, let's jump into heavily shorted stocks. So these are the heavily shorted stocks. We got ASLAN Pharma, 180 Life Sciences, Timber Pharma, and so on and so forth. We'll go into these stocks in a little more detail, and look at what makes sense. So with that, this is the 25 companies, as you can see here. These are listed in the order of descending order of short ratio, which is short float. So we have top stock here, ASLN, 68% short stock, meaning people borrowed the stock, hoping stock price will go down further. And it's in the descending order, as you can see here. Typically, what I look for is really, I look for how is the performance. As you can see here, in case of ASLAN, stock is up 1 year 212%, and as you go down here, half year 105, quarter 88, from there it kind of goes down. So you want to make sure stock is kind of falling off, and weekly it has fallen off lower than monthly, and on a daily basis it's showing some sign of recovery. That's when you jump in, and you can buy at that price. So typically you got to be a little bit careful. Don't buy too much. You could buy in chunks, and look at the chart, and look at things like RSI, which is relative strength index. In this case, it's 48, which is manageable below 50. You would also look at things like quarter over quarter sales, or the sales growth, and the gross margin. And some things I will also look for is really how are these insiders doing. For example, in case of ASLAN Pharma, institutions are buying the stock, which is a good sign. And in case of 180 Life Sciences, again, institutions are buying the shares, but insiders are selling a little bit. It's not huge amount, which is manageable. Timber Pharma, here we got institutions selling, and the RSI is lower. Quarter over quarter sales growth is negative. So, and also there is a high PS ratio in these scenarios. So these are some criteria that I look for. Typically, I would buy when companies fundamentally solid, evidenced by high quarter over quarter sales growth, high gross margin. I look for a good entry position where RSI, the relative strength index is a little bit lower, below 50, below 40 sometimes, and which is always good. And I look for insiders buying it. or institutions buying it, and look for those scenarios. Sometimes I can be even a little more contrarian when there is a huge insider selling. If I feel it's kind of bottoming out, I might jump in and buy some at that point. So with that, these are the list of companies that we have. I highlighted some areas here where insiders are buying, which is a good sign, or institutions are buying, good sign. Insiders are selling a little bit, not so good. And also, we got PS ratio. If it's a high, that means stock is so pricey. Probably it might fall off a little more. And I also highlighted some of the quarter to quarter over quarter sales growth. Whenever there is a sales growth and good gross margin, those are the good candidates. Even if you buy short squeeze or not, these stocks will tend to do well in the future. So with that, these are the list of 25 heavily shorted stocks. Now let's go to next slide. This talks about next 26 to 50 shortest stocks. So here also same story here. National Beverage, as you can see here, stock has fallen off last week, and they are 49% off of their 52-week high. In a 1 year basis, they have done very well, and there is a institutions buying the shares, and the gross quarter over quarter sales growth and gross margin is good. So these are the scenarios where it's you can look at the chart and make out is it a good time to buy or not. But typically with the RSI at below 50, that could be a good candidate. So you can just look through this. Make sure you look at insider transactions, and institutional transactions, relative strength index, quarter over quarter sales, and gross margin as you look through. And we will look at few examples here. For that, I will go to Thinkorswim platform. So if you look at here, I got a stock which is GSX, which is a Chinese online digital education here. As you can see here, stock sold off heavily, and again it sold off last Friday also heavily. And by looking at the volume I think has picked up. As you can see here on the balance volume itself, which people buying this stock, I think that has gone down a little bit. And DMI, that's indicating the red line crossed over the blue line, which means it's a little bit bearish. Implied vol kind of went up, so you would not be buying a call option at this price. You're paying steeply for that. And check in money flow itself, indicating money is flowing out of the stocks. So in these type of scenarios where there is a very heavy selling last week and stock is still in a drop zone, I'd be watching out and maybe waiting for an uptick. Then I'll be buying. And if you're contrarian and you want to buy a little bit, that's okay too, with the stock falling off so much. So the hope here is really any good news at this point will cause a short squeeze. That's why when the stock has fallen off so much, the moment you see an uptick, it's good to really buy some and take it from there. And one more thing I want to point out is really RSI, relative strength index, that's gone down so much. As you can see here, it's below 40, and the last time it went below 40 was here. Then it went kind of went up, and here it got oversold again. So typically the moment it goes below 40, that's a good entry point for most part, given there is a good fundamental behind the company. So next we'll look at one more stock, which is PubMatic, ticker symbol PUBM. And this stock is a digital advertising play. And as you can see here, this stock has a high of $76 here. And this stock also sold off hard after the shorts taking position. And if you look at here, the DMI itself, DMI is kind of indicating slowly the blue line is going to go above, it's kind of going above the ADX line, and the red line is below. That's showing me it's showing some bullish indication at this point. also witnessed by stock kind of gaining some momentum here. And if you look at the check-in money flow here, it's kind of showing some strength. So that tells me, at least in PubMatic case, probably it's a good time to buy some, and any good news will cause the short squeeze. So that's one way I look at this. Next, we'll look at one more stock, which is OTRK, which is Ontrak. If you look at Ontrak here, in the stock, $99, which is the all-time high here. Stock is at 30, and as you can see here, stock has sold off here. RSI, relative strength index, went below 30 also here, which is really good. And right now it is 34. And here the red line is above blue line, which is a bearish sign here. Implied wall is which fell off right now. And check-in money flow is trying to tell me it's people are buying into this stock, so it's a good sign. So I look for check-in money flow also. If I see people are buying the stock is kind of sort of stabilizing, that's when I jump in and buy some, hoping stock will improve and there will be some short squeeze. So with that, let's go back to the list here. I would be a little bit cautious. I would not buy in huge quantities because you don't want to take unnecessary risk. But look for fundamentally sound companies with a low RSI, institutions buying, insiders are buying. Unless you want to be a contrarian, which is to look at very beaten down stock. For example, here there is one stock here, Workhorse. Workhorse is a very good company. I think it's into EV, electric vehicles. I think they lost some of these contracts. That's why stock has fallen off. So if you look at this Workhorse as an example, the stock itself, as you can see, your high was 42. Right now it's at 13. Steep drop. And as you can see here, the red line in the DMI is above the blue line. The blue line is below, which is a bearish sign. And check-in money flow is showing it's kind of dropping off or coming down. So RSI is really low. So in these type of scenarios, I would little bit wait for at least some uptick here, unless you want to be a contrarian, which could be okay too. You could buy a little bit, but I would look for an uptick, and I would look for the DMI, at least the red, this blue line here to show some uptick, and the red line to show some downtick, and also check in money flow, at least some indication that it's going up. Then I would initiate a position and take it from there. With that, thank you very much. Happy trading.